But the quality here, that's the most important. Instead of talking only about the deacons, subdeacons, I want to speak in general about service. Pope, bishop, priest, deacon, subdeacons, even lay. Because for service, every one of us is called in conformity of the rank he has. With the word service, we can understand the liturgical term. The service, liturgical service, the choral offices, rituals. We can understand also directly what you said, the diaconia. That means the service instituted by the apostles to serve the community. The term can be also theological and scriptural. In the Holy Scripture, Jesus says, among you who aspires to greatness must serve the rest. Whoever wants to rank first among you must serve the needs of all. Such is the case with the Son of Man, who has come not to be served by others, but to serve. To serve to the point that he gave his own life as a ransom for many. Namely, the kingdom of God, the church. In the church, the preeminence is given to our neighbor. Christ called us to lead others. But before leading others, we have to consider ourselves as ministers, as servants of all others, inferiors or superiors, of the pure and the impure, of the good or the bad, the clean or the unclean. The orders are a sign of authority in the church, but the authority is a ministry. The power we have received as deacons, subdeacons, priests, bishops, the power we have received, now I lost it. Anyway, you see, is a power of service. Our ministry is reduced to the service of others. The question is, what service can I give? What service can I give to the community? The basic trouble is that we want to do as little as possible. We will serve, yes, but how much? Certain cases of services, it's too much to ask of us. What we want to do as little as possible and to get as much as possible. We forget that the service in the basic of the service is the gratuity. But we want to get from that. I don't get money. So maybe I get a position. I get power. I get clout. Many times you see people, oh yes, I want to serve. But I want to serve on this field. Yeah. Especially for a priest. I feel like teaching, yes, we need your service in the parish. The souls need your service. Well, accept the parish, but I want a parish a little, I feel that I have too much energy. I want to work in a big parish. Service is obedience. Jesus gave us the example. I came to serve, not to be served. And he declares that measure, the measure of the service, he will show what kind of measure till the last drop of his blood. He will give his life as a ransom. The ransom was paid for the slaves. He occupied a throne, and his throne was the cross. You can sit in the big thrones ourselves. We are bishops, deacons, subdeacons. We have a throne. His throne was the cross. He is the famous servant of Yahweh mentioned in the Old Testament. According to the moral theology, service is a form of respect, and of course this goes also with our work, respect, indebtedness, arousing out of benefits received from another. The highest kind of service is owed to God as a source of an end of life. This is what we call the virtue of religion. The term implies worship, obedience, and concern God's honor. Service can be also filial piety, respect for superiors, gratitude. You know, the Pope called himself the servant of servants. That means that the people, the bishops, they are servants, but he is the servants of servants. This reminds me, like in Lebanon, the bishops write the unworthy, the faqir, before their name, the unworthy. And there was a priest, he wrote the unworthy, so the bishop called him, come on here. You don't have the right to call yourself unworthy. We are that. This is another kind of service. The famous scene of service in the gospel is Jesus throwing himself at the feet of the apostles and washing their feet. What an example. It wasn't the customary washing of the feet for those who were coming to eat, the guests. No. He did that after, just to show that he wanted to give them an example, a special example. And they didn't understand. So he told them, do you understand what I just did? You address me as teacher and Lord, and fittingly enough, for that is what I am. But if I wash you feet, I am teacher and Lord. Then you must wash each other feet. What just I did was to give you an example. As I have done, so you must do. And then I solemnly assure you, no slave is greater than his master, No messenger outranks the one who sent him. Once you know all these things, blessed you will be if you put them into practice. The foundation of service are humility and charity. In this stands the kingdom of God, against which the devil or the world or the jaws of death will not prevail. Humility, basis of all the other virtues. This is why when Peter refused, "Oh, you don't wash my feet," Jesus rebuked him, because Peter was standing in the way of the plan of salvation. I came to serve. You don't understand. This is my life. My life is a life of service. I want you to understand that this is my life and you must be servants as I am. Don't stop me, Peter. You are stopping the plan of salvation appointed by the Father. And this is why he rebuked him. The poor St. Peter didn't understand well, but he was a man of love, of feelings. Oh, then wash my head and my feet and my shoulders, whatever. Jesus said, no need for that. The essential is to understand what I want to tell you. My life is a life of service, and I will give my life for others. Another point that we understand well from the washing of the feet is that Jesus washed the feet of Judas. The same. Like any other one. Like Peter, like John. What Judas felt, we don't know. What Jesus felt in his great humility and love, in his obedience to the Father, just telling us that we are at the service, even of those who don't like us, even of those who will speak against us, even of those who feel repulsion towards us, even of those who don't like to see us, we are at their service. And in the same way that he washed the feet of Peter and John, he washed the feet of Judas. The service of God doesn't accept other services. The service of God is exclusive. Don't serve two gods. God and Mammona, the money. God afraid from the money. What a powerful God, the money. We know that Moses came with the law. When he saw the golden calf, he threw the law. The law were broken on the golden calf. And how many of the laws of God are broken because of money? So the service of God doesn't admit another service. The Christians serve God not in fear, but in freedom. Not as a slave, but as sons. As friends of Jesus. Just to realize the idea of the gospel. They will imitate Christ as to become slaves of the neighbor. The service of diaconia, you will be hearing a lot about it. something similar at the service of the community. As far as we remember always that the mission of Jesus himself was a mission of service. The kings of this world rule. Don't be like them. Serve. The greatness is in service, in the service of our neighbor. In fact, we see the Gospel of Matthew, that Jesus by the end asked, I was naked and you clothed me. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me water. It's not only these works of mercy for the body, but also the works of mercy for the soul. This is the service. My dear brothers and sisters, if we want to understand exactly what is service, more we think about it, and more we have to configure our life to the life of Jesus. That means the holiness, the perfect holiness. Thank you.
Say that we have a lot of time. We have a lot of time. I don't know what your schedule is, but could you stay with us as long as, and just tell us when you have to leave? Does anybody have any questions or would like to,
First, I want to express my gratification on Bishop and letting Gregory and this particular intervention focus on the diaconate and ministries in general. But along with that, I'd like to could you see or foresee in the future where a deacon could serve in another parish and maybe in a more extensive way, matching, say, a talent with a need? Is that a possibility in the future?
I don't think that there will be any limitation as far of service. The difficulties are that in general the deacon is married, he has a family, he's tied to a place. This is also the difficulties with the married priest. They are tied to one place, and so not only is it difficult for them to move, like it's difficult for the bishop to eradicate them from the place, because not only they have the family there, they have the children there, and they have a lot of clout because of that family, cousin, inter-cousins, I don't know what, and it's very difficult. Now, as service, as I say, we must be ready to serve anywhere, in whatever capacity. So the service of the deacon, of course, is for the community, but we can serve the community in so many different ways. Like the priest, the bishop, they can serve the community in so many different ways as far as it's service. I worked in Cairo. I had a lot of activities. Then they called me back to Rome. And I stayed in Rome 6 years with the marriage cases, working in marriage cases. And I consider that my work, my activity in Cairo was a service. My service with the papers for 6 years was dry, but it was a service. So consider everything you have in hand, especially by obedience, as a means of service.
So, before we entertain other questions, would you try to tackle those 3 questions that I asked you?
Why I ordained the deacons?
Yes, and the subdeacons.
Yes. I like, well, in the Maronite Rite, as you know, till now, they were, once they existed, as they existed in the Latin Church, then they were abolished. I thought that the service of our deacons in our parish would be very, very helpful. Helpful to the priest, helpful to the community. An example of life. Example of life and example of service. Of course, the priest is there, but the deacon can add so much by his relation to the people. He is clergy, but he's looked at as clergy and in the world. He's not looked at as the priest, oh, he's far in some way. No, he's looked at a man who serves and can give of his activity. Besides, there was a point, and in the Latin Church they were given permission to ministers, lay ministers, to give communion. I'm not against that. On the contrary, once I was sick, quite sick in Detroit, and my doctor was in my room, and here comes a young man with a basket. Oh, are you Bishop Francis? Yes. Do you want to receive communion? Yes, yes. And I took a received communion. So my doctor says, Bishop, how will you accept that? I told him, listen, if my God accepts to come in this way, I order the superiors, I am very grateful that God came to me. We keep quiet. So, in our right, we are not used to have the ministers, the lay ministers. I thought the deacon is there, he will receive he give communion, he will help the priest in giving communion, he will help the priest in expanding the gospel, preaching the gospel, and then he will take care of many other things in the parish the pastor cannot. This was the reason for ordaining deacons. You say, why the subdeacons then? So we came, no, the deacons have to be trained. According to the new rule, they have to be trained for 3-4 years. Now it's 4 years, I think. Before it was 3. And there was some kind of urgency, as also there was some kind of need to have more cooperation in the parish among the priests and the people. And so I came with the idea of subdeacons. So to complete the work in the parish at the service of the parish, I had the deacons. I am the only one. And some of the bishops in say, why you have deacons and subdeacons? We don't have. I said, this is your business.
The patriarch hasn't said anything to you about it.
No, as many other things I have innovated. I think that when I go, they will say, God be with him.
I guess Zayek on the other side, he'll say, I hope every bishop will do the same.
You think so?
He was not going to tell you that. He said it to himself.
No, but they have been ordained also Monsignor and all these things, so it's different.
So to just continue on this train of thought,
Yes?
regarding the role, the pastoral role of deacon and subdeacon. A lot was talked about, but could you just give us some imagination of what on the parish and perhaps on the diocesan level, beginning with the subdeacon, you'd like to see the subdeacon do, and then you'd like to see the deacon do? Just outside of liturgy and outside of their liturgical role,
Yeah.
but what pastoral?
You see, as you mentioned, the role of deacons is to help in the parish. It's not so much liturgical as you mentioned yesterday. It's to help in the parish, to coordinate the work, CCB schools, coordinate the work of the sick, these things. The work of the deacon is to concentrate more to have. So the subdeacon is a kind of link between the laity and the clergy, while the deacon is already more towards, he is in the order, the subdeacon is not. So it's more a work activity. Of course, the deacons were created to give food, and in the act, we see that the Greek, that means the Jews who were outside Jerusalem, they used to call them the Greek in the diaspora. So they came and they told Jesus, they told the apostles, why the Jewish community has servants and our widows and orphans don't have. This indicates that maybe they were already deacons for the Jews. And so the other ones came and said, why we don't have? But it doesn't appear, the apostles tell them, go and choose among the people you know, and we will impose our hands on them. In fact, the names chosen were all Greek names. That means it was from the community in the diaspora who were staying in Jerusalem and Judea. So the deacon will be more, as I said, to attend, to prepare for the oblation, to prepare for the liturgy, not only prepare materially, but prepare spiritually, to take care, I don't know, of the explanation of the Sundays, or beautiful Sundays, by Bernardines preparing things like that. It's more an apostolate. The apostolate of the word and the apostolate of the altar.
Do you have a few minutes to take other questions?
Yes, Father.
This is both a observation and a question. The observation is that I have, since I came into the diocese, served in 9 different places. So I got to know the different situations. Many of these places had deacons and subdeacons. Some just had subdeacons or just deacons. And I have felt, speaking to my brother Priest, which give a connection and an attitude towards our brother deacons and subdeacons, a different spirit among each one of them. Some priests would be very enthusiastic, open, and warm to their deacons. Others would be aloof, cold, would really prefer not to happen. Like one priest told me once, I was discussing this with him, he says, a deacon must be crushed. A deacon must be kept in his place. Don't let him do too much. Let him feel that he is more a servant to you. That's what his mind was, his attitude was. And then, this is my observation.
Yes.
My questions are, we as, there's twofold questions. We as priests, first of all, this is not an old institution, it's kind of new, both in our church and the Roman Latin Rite. What should we do and permit them to do? And should we have sort of minute guidelines through your grace and the help of Father Gregory? Should we have strict guidelines of what we should let them do at the altar and in the parish? Should we have that eventually?
Yeah, there is some kind of guideline.
Yes. Because in many of the parishes I have, the poor deacons are nothing but glorified altar boys. And others almost live with you, so to speak. You see? And then my second question is, maybe I'm a little too bold, but I go around when I'm in these parishes and I see a boy and say, you want to be a deacon? You want to be a subdeacon? I sort of push myself. You think I'm too pushy on that? Should I just let them come to me?
No, Sometimes we must address. Yeah, that's nice.
If I see a man that I think will...
Many you see, a man or young man, if we don't approach them, many times they will not come with it. It's when you approach them that they remember. I remember a boy, he was altar boy, and he was small, so some years ago in Woodsbury, and I called him and said, why don't you become a priest? And he looked at me. So, 7 or 8 years later, he came to me and said, Bishop, do you remember when you called me, you said, why you don't become a priest? I said, yes, because I have been thinking since I want to. He's in at Notre Dame now. The boy, Baby George. Yeah. Not even Baby George, I know it's so much time with George. I have to answer his questions before. You said, Father, that it's new. It's new and it's old, the Diaconate in the church. Subdeacons. It's old and it has been at the beginning of the church, then it was, as you know, abolished. What was the reason? That the deacons had the material things in the parish. They had all the money, and the poor bishop, if he wanted bread, he had to ask the deacon. And the deacon, if he was happy with the bishop, he would give him his bread. Otherwise, no bread. So, the good bishop thought, this is the end for them. And he finished by being abolished. So, there is a trend, no doubt, by the deacons. And this can be also in our parishes. Before anything, we must understand, the deacon must understand, every one of us must understand that there is a hierarchy. There is the pope, of course. There is the bishop, there is the priest, there is the deacons. And this hierarchy must be respected. Because all of us, with the lady, as I mentioned yesterday, all of us are working for the same goal. Now, if you have people working to build a home, and someone comes and you want to put the stones this way, you say, hey, where are you going? We are building a home, we must stay together. You can build this way. You must build in the way you decided to build the home, to build the temple. Don't get outside. Don't think outside the choir. Stay inside the choir. So, the deacon has to understand that he is inside the church, that he is to help the priest, not to antagonize the priest. The priest must understand that he has somebody who helps him, who is in the orders. Respect the deacon, he's in the orders, that he has somebody who will work for him. For the good of the parish. And all have to coordinate that. So I say, sometimes a priest asks me, how many times the deacon must preach? Oh, Father, it's up to you. It's up to you to tell him. If he's capable, if he's able to attack the people, let him preach. Why not? It's good to have somebody else in the pulpit than yourself. Besides, he goes, he's among the people, he hears so many things. So let him sometimes do. There is a danger. The danger, as I mentioned, is that the deacon is married. And having a family, the priest comes and goes. But as far as the deacon is married, he's anchored there. So when the new pastor comes, the poor one, he doesn't know what he does. So the deacon thinks that he is a little God. Instead, in his humility, helping the priest to understand the community, how to do with the community, he begins to, and there is the fear in the priest that the other one is overshowing himself. We are all human beings. And so, from the part of the deacon, from the part of the priest, it takes consideration, charity, and humility and charity. Service. We are to serve. We are not to antagonize anybody or to look for our position. Today I will preach. Everybody will say how well I preach, how well I did. We are looking for ourselves. It's Christ that we have to present. But we are human beings, of course, and we can fall into these mistakes. So the danger, as I said again, is the married deacon staying in the parish, having a lot of power, and of course moving the families according to his will, sometimes against the priest. So the priest is threatened. And this is dangerous. And this can be a cause why in many dioceses, Latin dioceses also, they have begun to be very careful with the deacons. They don't want it. I answered your questions, Father.
Yeah, and the second one is, should we have minute details of what we should give them?
Yes, no doubt that Father is working for the guidelines what to do for the deacons and subdeacons. We want to understand well our tradition and the possibilities in our parishes, because every parish is a little different from the other. As you know, you have been going around. It's different from the other. What are the necessities in this parish? What is the mentality? You know, even among the bishops, when we gather together, I see that the mentality in New England is absolutely different from the mentality in the West. And the needs of the West are different from the needs of the... So every parish, we have our parishes spread in the United States, every parish has its own needs. Okay. Yes, Father.
God bless you for being through a different thing that I'm thinking about is to add to what you said exactly right. Many times the priests, they don't like deacons, but those who are in ministry who want to take over the whole priest. And I remember when I was a deacon, that was a whole different ministry, you know. And unfortunately, I think it was always too short, a year long. But the virtues were thinking about the authoritarian, even bigger than pastor. So you can get the people where things up to you, that's a separate ministry. It's not something under, your own field. And I know my candidate's been a great help to me already. It's almost like additional ears and eyes and hearing, and it's already been help. Those are already been a big help to me already. Seeing the need concerning the needs of the hearing, and like in Austin, we're like an island to ourselves. We don't care for it, but it's so, getting people more and more as we go in the parish, the community. The last deacon comes in, but sometimes maybe, and he's not one of the community. He doesn't stay in the church meetings, comes in the church meeting, fulfills the liturgy, and leaves. And it's nothing to be part of the community. It's very nice to have, and it's not only for the church, but also they need of people who's sick, and someone is down depressed, someone from, they don't scripture, ministry, biblical churches.
Just I'm talking a little bit about my experience when I heard Father say, I think when we sit down among the Latin deacons, my friend, working to get together, help just open up. We listen to each other about certain problems. And I find out the big problem is when the deacon assumes, I've been doing this with this pastor, I should be doing the same thing over there. I even saw Sayidna and Father Greg is going to give us some guideline maybe to the priest. But I don't think anything should be written in stone. We shouldn't feel like, hey, I've always done the gospel. Why you don't want me to do the gospel? I went through, I think, 4 pastors, and I served 4. And believe me, my role changes with everyone. And I'm trying to adapt myself to each one. That's the personality, that's their attitude. As Father says, some of them can't stand deacons. We can't change that. If that priest can't stand deacon and he feels threatened, we have to make the best of it. We have to make the best of it and try to see what we can do to live with. So what I'm trying to say is our role does change. I don't think, regardless of what's in that little thing, if some priest says, listen, this is fine, and I'm not going to let anybody do it, believe me, he's going to leave the guideline. He's going to keep doing it because he's comfortable with it. And I don't think we should make an issue out of it and say, hey, I'm going to declare war because now he's stopping me from doing this and that. So my role has been changing tremendously from different things, and I was surprised. This guy gave me this, and the other one gave me that. But in the meantime, we have to adapt ourselves and take into consideration what Father said, and try to make the best of it, and open our heart to Father Gregory and to say it. I think will work out. The service is the foundation, and believe me, it's great to serve, and it's an honor to serve people. Whatever we can, whatever our pastor said, do it, we'll do it.
On this occasion, Maroon is the deacon of the cathedral, and he does a beautiful, beautiful work. Disgracefully this year, he lost his wife, and I told him to think about the priesthood. Now he's thinking about the priesthood. So you will have in the future difficulties with your deacon. Like once I was in a parish and the priest was saying, no, according to our right, the deacon doesn't read the gospel. I says, well, if he doesn't read the gospel, if he doesn't give communion, for what we want help? And then he says, no, only the archdeacons can read the gospel. I say, well, in the past, yes, true, it was archdeacon, but today, if there is any need, I ordain him archdeacon. He wasn't too enthused to ordain him archdeacon, to keep him deacon. But even like this, he read the gospel. Yes.
I have an observation, and I think I agree with you. Wherever we are, but I also think that we have a little hole in our program. I finished the second year at the end, and I don't find the uniformity there in the Maronite right. And certainly, if you talk about change, even in the bishop, where everybody thinks on different levels and everybody's trained in different ways, I would like to comment. I thought that might be nice, maybe the third year or something, somewhere along the line in our diocese, we could have a training program, or whether it be a week or 2 weeks, or even on a video type presentation for uniformity to train the deacons, so we can have even more uniformity in our, whether I just throw that out as an observation. I just find myself thinking next quarter when I come back in Latin Maths after a certain period of time where I want to be learning Maronite practices, and the priest doesn't always have the time to do it. He doesn't let it be done. But if it's something to be worked out, that might have to be very.
Thank you.
Right. I'd like to piggyback on the Subdeacon's comments because I'm in the same class with them. First, I'm in agreement with what has been said already as to what deacons do and what deacons cannot do. As to the relationship between the deacon and the priest, you have already told us what that relationship was. And not only that, that relationship is spelled out very clearly in the prelude of John's Gospel. In John's Gospel, in chapter 1, it is clear where it says that Jesus is the life. And it is that life that is the life of men. In the Maronite tradition, the light shines. That's why illumines and transmits the beautiful image of Yahweh. That same thread is in, or it should be, in every deacon, every subdeacon, and every priest. And it is, and in a unique way, because the sum total of all of those is church. And so, what he is talking about is it possible that we might have, as individuals who are training to be servants, a training milieu that is Maronite? It accomplishes the unification of Maronite so that the priests see the light of Maronite deacons and not a disunity of Maronite deacons. Rather, the spirit of the Maronite deacon, that spirit that is uniquely Maronite, by having the one place that we all go, the same unity, the same perhaps teacher, and that teacher need not be a priest, because of the story of the eagle who could not fly. The eagle who could not fly was hatched in a nest with chickens. And so all his life, he thought he was a chicken. And when it came to fly, he could not fly because he thought he was a chicken. So if we train Maronite deacons with Maronite people and in a Maronite way, the Maronite spirit blossoms and shines forth in a way that perhaps that deacon priest that we saw is not so suppressive, because the life of Jesus was a magnetic life. It was a life that drew people. It did not suppress people or push people away, although it did push the Pharisees away. But in the end, it's a magnet that draws people, and that should not push or face away. The life of the deacon should draw the priest. That image that the deacon has, the priest should want some. We can do that if we, I believe, had our own.
And we will take into consideration your, maybe they can have a special week for them. You gather them and to teach and all this, and why not? Only that it's good the eagle didn't eat the chicken. As you were saying, light, the deacon is a light. You see, we have two very expressive gestures in the ordination of deacon and subdeacon. He takes the light, and by 3 times he elevates the light, standing in front of the people, and he elevates, saying, I am the olive branch. That olive branch, the olive to soothe, to heal. At the same time, healing and giving light. So this is one of the functions. Of course, this must be the function of every Christian, but in a special way, he is indicated for that, for light, for healing, for soothing, as the olive oil. And then the second one is when the bishop makes the signs of the cross between the eyes, so that our eyes, used to the world, may begin to open. I see the glory of God. So to go to that point, to try to reach that point. Of course, if we push this expression, to the extent we goes into holiness, they lead to holiness, because all the virtues leads us finally to holiness. But this is a characteristic of the deacon and subdeacon. Life, healing, exclusive. And he's the guardian of the mysteries. So these are the position. Of course, we'll take into consideration your request, and I'm sure that Father Gregory will have a week, I hope next year, to train you more. I understand this also from many of our seminarians when they are in Latin seminaries. They have the beautiful training and all this, but they don't have what pertains exactly to the Maronite tradition.
Just one comment. I guess I'm like all of you too. I know you sometimes focus on the pastor and what the pastor and let me do and not do and all of those kinds of things. And it's been helpful to me sometimes to get my focus straight and realize I'm not just serving the pastor, I'm serving the liturgy. And so is he. Okay, so for me, it's just a lot easier if in fact I'm not happy or I feel frustrated or whatever, just to refocus myself and say, you know, I'm serving the liturgy, and so is the priest serving the liturgy. And I try to get beyond, well, what is he going to let me do or not do or whatever. And that's been helpful for me. I guess it's just a matter of seeing through the personalities and conflicts.
By the way, you are professor, also teacher, no?
Yes.
So you know one distinct, doctor of education, what is doctor of education? Okay, Father.
Okay. Thank you, Zayek.
Harrison, continue to do the work. We need your work because we by ourselves cannot enter the 25th, the second 25th, without your help and the help of every Maronite, so that these dioceses or the future dioceses, Maronite dioceses, may expand. So thank you so much for all your cooperation, for your work, for the example of your life. God bless you. Keep me in your prayers. I will keep you in mind.
While Zayek is leaving, could we just sit for another couple minutes and then we'll finish our business? Thank you again, Zayek, very, very much.
Remember the bell.
Good. Nice to see you.
Sure. I just want to make a fast announcement. Father Donald Sawyer from our parish in Austin has made a wonderful tape on Maronite tradition and history and how it plays.